Good morning, everyone. I wanted to make you a short video to introduce the concept of division. This is from section 3.2 in your textbook. On Friday, we will finish the concept of division as well as review for your test on Monday, but today I just wanted to get us started and talk about two different types of division problems. So from your textbook, here are two different examples. Let's look at these. A class of 20 children is to be divided into 4 teams with the same number of children on each team. How many children are on each team? And the second one, a class of 20 children is to be divided into teams of 4 children each. How many teams are there? So you can see that it's a sort of the same setup with 20 children, but we have a different question for each of these two problems. So let's draw a little picture to represent this. All right, we have a class of 20 children. So here's our little sample guy, and there are 20 of these children. And the division, we're trying to divide these students or children into 4 teams with the same number of children on each team. All right, so I'll draw the 4 teams, or kind of a model here or a diagram to represent this. It's not accurate, of course, but it gets the main idea across. All right, and then the question is, how many children are on each of these 4 teams? All right, that's the part that we don't know. All right, now in the other question, all right, same thing, we have our class of 20 children. All right, and we're dividing them into teams of 4 children each. So we know that there are 4 children in a team. Okay, 4 kids in there. Another team of 4 students. But what we don't know is how many of these teams we'll have. Right? So we don't know how many groups we can make out of those 20 children. All right, so it's a subtle difference, but you can see that there is a difference. All right, so this first type of division, this is called sharing division. All right, and in this type of division, we know the number of groups, but what we're trying to figure out is how many objects, or in this case children, should be shared to each of those groups. Right? In the second problem, this is called a measurement division, and it's a little bit confusing because we're not really dealing with measurements, so this is different than the measurement model, which is only used if you're talking about distances or times or different types of measurements. So measurement here refers to the idea that we have a certain number of objects, we have children, and we're trying to measure out a specified number of them to each group, but the question is how many groups. Right? So let's see. Let me see if I can get another page in here. Okay, so in a sharing problem, the question is how many in each group? And it's the groups that are known. All right, so in our previous example, we knew that there were 4 teams, but what we didn't know is how many were in each of those groups or on each of those teams. Whereas in measurement, the question is how many groups? Okay, so here we know how many objects in a group, all right, but we needed to know how many teams of children, how many groups could be made from those 20 children. All right, so let's go through this example. This is from your textbook, example 3.7, and we'll try to determine whether each of these problems is a sharing or measurement type of division. Okay, so problem 1, and it might help to draw a little picture or a diagram, some type of model. In your assignment for today, I asked you to do that as well, so I'll do some examples, but that might help you to decide which of these types of problems it is. Okay, part A. A certain airplane climbs at a rate of 300 feet per second. At this rate, how long will it take the plane to reach a cruising altitude of 27,000 feet? Okay, so here's our little plane. Okay, plane is climbing. Plane climbs at a rate of 300 feet per second. Per second. Okay, and the question is, how long will it take the plane to reach a cruising altitude of 27,000 feet? Right? So to figure out whether this is sharing or measurement, we have to go back to that idea of determining if we're figuring out how many are in each group or how many groups we have. So here, there is no mention of groups, so that's the part that we need to figure out. Alright, so we know that the plane climbs at 300 feet per second, and then when we're asked to find how long it will take, we can go ahead and assume that that's in seconds. So we need to know how many seconds until we reach 27,000 feet. Right? Well, if you think of this 300 feet, right, as your group of feet per 1 second, right? So that is the distance traveled in 1 second. Right? Then what we need to know are how many seconds. Right? We would need ... to get up to 27,000 feet. Right? So we know it's 300 feet per second, but we need to know how many of those to get up to 27,000 feet. Right? So this is actually, we know how many, we know this, we know how many in each group. We know there are 300 feet in a group, if you want to think of it as a group of 1 second. Right? But we're trying to figure out how many 300s we can measure out to get up to 27,000 feet. So this is a measurement problem. Right? If it did help you to think of a number line, you could do it that way as well. Right? We need to reach 27,000, and we're starting at 0, and we need to know how many 300s we can measure out until we get to 27,000. Okay, example B. A group of 15 friends pooled equal amounts of money to buy lottery tickets for a very large jackpot, $1,987,005. If they win, how much should each friend receive? Right, so how much should each friend receive? That's our question, and we need to figure out if this is asking how many in each group or how many groups. Okay, here let's draw a little picture. 15 friends, and they have this large amount that they want to, divvy up to each other. And here it's even appropriate to say they want to share this money with each other, which kind of clues you in as to the answer. Alright, so let's check and make sure. If this is a sharing problem, then we should be asking how many in each group. Right, so what are the groups? Right, well, there are 15 friends. Right, so in other words, the money is being split 15 ways. All right, there's the 15 friends. But what we're asking is how much money should each receive? All right, or in other words, how many in the group? How many dollars in a group that's given to one friend? Right, so that is a sharing problem. You have this large total, you're sharing or dividing it out among a certain number of groups, or in this case, a certain number of people. Okay, and let's look at the last example. Shauna baked 54 cookies to give to her friends. All right, she wants to give each friend a plate with 6 cookies on it. Okay, how many friends can she give cookies to? All right, so when she divides this out to her friends, we know she's giving 6 cookies to each one, but what we don't know is how many friends she's giving those cookies to. So the question in this case is actually how many groups or how many friends. All right, how many groups can we divide those 54 cookies into? You could also think of this as a number line again. All right, there are 54 cookies, and then starting with 0 cookies, every time she gives out a group of 6 cookies, she's given it to one friend, but what we need to know is how many friends she's giving those cookies to, right? Or how many groups of 6 cookies can she give out? So this is a measurement problem. Now notice in this one that we weren't really talking about distances or times or any of the things that we typically talked about when we looked at measurement, at the measurement model. So measurement division is different than the measurement model. Measurement division is, go back to this one, right? This idea of asking how many groups. All right, I hope that's clear. If not, try to work together if you can find somebody to do your assignment with, and we will certainly discuss on Friday, go over any questions that you might have. You do just have a short assignment that kind of wraps up some of the multiplication ideas we talked about, as well as gives you some practice with these two types of division problems. All right, I will see you on Friday. Thank you for listening.